Hey guys, how are you doing? I hope you are creating really good works of art on DeviantArt and maybe on YouTube and other platforms like maybe eBay or Amazon and other places where you can market your art and everything. I know I'm creating a lot of my own art and enjoying my own craft of writing poetry and doing videos and doing my voice acting, with that wascally wabbit kind of stuff, because I'm sort of a Looney Tunes mockery with my own Mabbit Muck sort of character, with my exaggeration of Looney Tunes history. But let me inform you of a little problem we have here in our education system in California. And it's a common problem. In fact, it's so common, I think a lot of people may not even really consider it a problem. But because it's such a common problem, it's often a common problem, even if it's no problem for us. You know how, like, often, like in California, it's like somebody will say that something is not a problem when it's still a problem? I don't think that really necessarily makes sense because I think if we have a problem that says 2 plus 2 equals 4, it's impossible to really say that 2 plus 2 equals 4 is not a problem because we already said that it was a problem. And California often has this habit of saying that something is not a problem when we already just said that it is a problem. And in this case, this is a problem that I'm mentioning of when it comes to homework, school, and art. Schools, including colleges and universities, may have this gut feeling and this irrational passion and love of art enough to say that art is such craft or such temperament of color and design that we create art without following any rules. Now, if you were to think about it really quickly, you would probably say, okay, I think that is correct. But now that I think about it deeply with my philosophy, and especially with my religion, I know that is completely wrong. Let me prove it to you. Let's say that you go to a new school. You visit a new school for the first time, and it's a new school. It is a school that has just been made for the community. It is a new school that the community is having for the first time. And let's say when you visit this new school, you visit a new teacher. The teacher also being new. The teacher is a new teacher, and the teacher has not done teaching before. And let's say you are in a new art class in this new school and in this presence of a new teacher, and the new art teacher says to you, you may create art without following any rules. Oh my God, that would be a really bad lesson, and I'll tell you why. Homework does not exist unless there are rules, because we use rules to determine if our homework is good or bad in the first place. And also, a school does not exist without rules because we use rules from time to time to determine if the school works for us or not. So, with that in mind, in essence, in a world with no rules, homework does not exist, because without rules you cannot even correct any problems to make it a homework assignment. And then, like, there's this problem of the school thing where it's like, well, without rules, then there basically is no school and there's just anarchy. And I'm sorry, anarchy is not a school. And for that reason, maybe even perhaps in some cases, excessive communism or excessive libertarianism are not schools either. Because in any extreme case of politics, then you're going to get like the likelihood that rules will disappear or be rendered non-effective. And Yeah. So if you're in a new school, in a new art class, and if a new teacher says to you, you may create art without following any rules, my advice is get out of that class, get out of that school, and stay away from that teacher and go somewhere else for your education. And I know that sounds a little harsh, but I'm also telling you the truth because when you're an adult like me, if there was any chance of like someone like me or someone like you, if you're an adult also, if there was any chance for us going to like a community college or like maybe some small program in a university to do some artwork and stuff, such as painting or poetry, we want to know if we really are receiving our lessons with professionals. And we need to know if the professionals really are professionals. And in this case, if someone said literally, you may create art without following any rules, I would not consider that teacher a professional or even a teacher. That would basically just be a fish. And hey, there are plenty of fish in the sea. After you eat fish for years and years, even when there are plenty of fish in the sea, after you eat fish for years and years, you will start questioning the funny sailors. If I may use that metaphor about a beach and sailing and sailors and sailing ships and those kinds of things. If you were on a sailing ship and if you were not having good fish, or if the sailors on the ship were not cooking fish right for you, would you stay on that ship? I think you would probably even think about calling the captain from far away and having an intrusion from France. I mean, it could get that serious when it comes to military. And some works of art, while we may think of it as funny stuff, not all art is really just Play-Doh stuff. There's art out there that gets into the reins of law, politics, government, business, and authority. And you could look at like the history of folk music for this. You could look at the history of opera singing for this. You could look at like even just like, painting, like Impressionism for this. You could look at Cubism of painting for this. You could look at rock and roll music for this. You could look at Elvis Presley records for this. And the list goes on. And in fact, I'm not sure if you know this much about Elvis, but when Elvis was living, he was also very much sort of his own investigator himself at times, and he would be careful of his surroundings because he was so famous that things were always risky for his travels, and his airplane flights, I misspoke, his airplane flights were not always that easy. And hey, that's just Elvis Presley. Could you imagine what all other musicians have to do, and what all other painters have to do, and what all other poets and authors and actors have to do when they take airplane flights and sailing ships and trains and buses? It's absolutely, when you think about it, it just gets into ridiculous territory. Because then the artist in like really extreme levels of popularity and famous quality, like a famous artist can basically become almost like in a way, kind of like an unofficial spy. And what ends up happening is that then you get this industry in art where celebrities start complaining about rumors. They start complaining about the paparazzi. They start complaining about illegal photography. They start complaining about plagiarism. And it goes all over the place because art can get so serious with levels. And hey, it's not just coloring book stuff. It's also maybe like, for example, like Bob Dylan territory. So you gotta watch out for like what you consider to be art and what you consider to be like something really meaningful of the pleasures and humors of applause and entertainment. And I know I'm gossiping a little bit, and hey, I think a little bit of gossiping is helpful if you're logical enough about it. You know, I think it can work. But yeah, why are some people so funny about art? Maybe they need to judge the painting with important senses. And currently, with our television industry, with our school industry, if I may call schools a school industry, with our education system, and with random politics, I think people have used so many facts and so many evidences about life that they forget to draw their clues and proper manners with important senses. And for that reason, I think it's a good for art if we put more important sense back into our art and not just think of it as just a sketch in a drawing book and stuff anymore. Especially if you really are an artist, if especially if you are one of my readers and one of my viewers who really get determined about your art. Yeah, it is about time that we stop pretending that the audience is just there by accident. There's always going to be someone in the audience who could probably do art that is better than any professional art that exists in the industry today. And that is how you get new artists rising into popularity, whether it be new singers or new actors or new authors and poets. And with that in mind, I hope you have a good one. And yeah, even if we may have art, we should still have rules for art because art can be considered homework and it can be considered schoolwork. And that's my case. Have a good one.